Humans and werewolves stood shoulder to shoulder. The werewolves were totally chill, super confident, while the humans nervously glanced at each other. Even Alice, usually bubbly and energetic, hadn't said a word since they got there, which freaked Violet out. What was this exercise all about? When everyone was finally gathered, Coach Jones looked pleased and announced, "Alphas, take over." Wait, what? Violet's head practically spun around. What the heck was going on? Before she could process anything, Asher and Roman stepped forward, both with evil grins. Whatever they were planning, it wasn't good. Would the coach really just let these guys take over his class? Seriously? Apparently, yes. Violet's eyes almost bugged out as she watched Coach Jones settle into a folding chair, legs crossed, a big umbrella shielding him from the sun. He sipped a cold drink from a table beside him, looking like he was on vacation, not running a training session. What in the world? She'd looked away for 2 seconds, and he was already lounging. What was happening? "And so it begins," Alice finally spoke, breaking the silence. "What begins?" Violet asked, a knot forming in her stomach. "They're games. We're basically entertainment. You'll see." "You knew?" Violet was stunned. "You knew all this and didn't say anything?" Alice frowned. "I thought you didn't like it when I talked too much." Violet wanted to scream. "Not when it's important information," she whisper-yelled. "A little heads up would have been nice. Maybe then I would have skipped training." "Trust me, you can't skip this," Alice said quietly. "They make sure everyone's here for this." "Listen up, everybody," Asher's voice boomed, easily grabbing their attention. "Just like our last date," he said, glancing at Violet, "we're here to help the coach out by teaching his class. By the end of this lesson, you can bet we'll make something out of you." That something was exactly what Violet was afraid of. The way Asher's eyes gleamed with mischief made her heart race. Even Roman, usually playful, was all serious now. He stepped forward, his expression cold and calculating as he scanned the crowd. "Fresh meat, step away from your better halves right now," he ordered. Violet was confused for a second. Then she saw 2 groups starting to form. Before she could decide where to go, she noticed Alice moving and instinctively followed. Her friend had been at the school longer, so she clearly knew the drill. Seeing Violet's confused look, Alice quietly explained, "Fresh meat means the scholarship kids and anyone new this semester. Basically, all the newbies. The better halves are mostly the elite students who've been at Lunaris Academy since freshman or sophomore year." Violet glanced around. Alice wasn't kidding. The fresh meat group was mostly new students, both human and werewolf. At least everyone was being treated equally. Sort of. There weren't any top-ranked students in their group, though. Violet figured the elite students were probably exempt from whatever Asher and Roman had planned. Slowly, Violet started backing away, her heart pounding. She hoped to escape without being noticed. Taking small steps, she cautiously edged toward the elite group. Just a little further, and I'm home free. Suddenly, she bumped into a solid wall of muscle. Her heart skipped a beat. Even without turning around, she knew exactly who it was. That dark, spicy scent. Her body went rigid. Violet hadn't planned on playing this card, but she was out of options. Forcing a sweet smile, she turned to face Asher, trying to hide her nerves. "I'm ranked pretty high. I don't have to do this, right?" "Yes, you are," Asher said, nodding thoughtfully, making her heart leap with hope. "Yes, I'm safe." But then Asher grinned. "But unfortunately, you're still fresh meat." He flashed his canines, and before Violet could react, he shoved her back in line. Laughter erupted from the elite group, loud and mocking. Violet felt herself blushing. That just when she thought he might actually be decent. "Now, listen up," Asher barked, his voice booming across the field. Silence fell instantly. He continued, his eyes scanning the crowd. "Today's session is about pushing your limits. We don't care if you're human or a werewolf. Everyone's equal in this training. You're not at Lunaris just to study and have a cushy life. We're the best of the best, and you have to prove you deserve to be here. So for warm-up, 10 laps around the track." "What?" The fresh meat group erupted in disbelief, especially the humans. The murmurs of shock quickly turned to protests. This was an Olympic-sized track. 10 laps for a warm-up? That was insane. They were going to die. The protests grew louder, but Asher shut them down fast. He half-shifted, his face changing into something feral, his lips peeled back, baring his sharp teeth, and he let out a deafening howl that echoed across the field. Panic spread like wildfire. The protests stopped. Everyone started running as fast as they could away from the beast behind them. "Hey, purple!" Violet turned just in time to see a ball hurling toward her. It smashed into her face, snapping her head back. Pain flared and blood trickled from her nose. What was supposed to be gym class had become Jasmine and her crew's personal torture chamber. "Whoa, look! It's like ketchup!" Someone yelled, and laughter exploded. Her tormentors were losing it, their mocking voices like nails on a chalkboard. Violet's vision blurred, but anger burned hotter than the pain. She saw Jasmine's smug smile, so proud of herself. Oh no, not today. Violet wiped the blood from her nose, glaring at Jasmine. Without hesitation, she grabbed the ball and hurled it straight at her nemesis. The satisfying sound replaced Jasmine's laughter with a shriek like a Thanksgiving turkey. The ball hit Jasmine square in the face. Violet watched, delighted, as she stumbled back, clutching her swollen eye. "How's that feel?" Violet shouted, venom dripping from her voice. But her victory was short-lived. Anisha, one of Jasmine's lackeys, grabbed a ball, her face twisted in rage, and fired it at Violet. Violet dodged it, heart pounding, but that was just the beginning. One by one, Jasmine's crew joined in, their faces set with vengeance. Jasmine never fought fair, and her followers were just as bad. They bombarded Violet with balls, aiming to hurt. Violet fought back, dodging, weaving, grabbing balls, and throwing them hard. She landed a few good hits, making some of them yelp. But there were too many. Soon, Violet was overwhelmed. Balls rained down on her, hitting her arms, stomach, and back. She gritted her teeth, refusing to cry out. The difference between her old school and Lunaris Academy? At her old school, Jasmine and her crew fought dirty. At Lunaris, the elite students fought with finesse. Every jab was calculated, every taunt cloaked in fake politeness, every act of cruelty disguised with elegance. Violet had always thought she was fit, but she was kidding herself. She was not prepared for this. Still, she was doing better than some of the others. This was lap 6, and many humans were already lagging. The werewolves, though, were totally crushing it. They ran like they were born to do this, barely breaking a sweat. Okay, they were sweating, but it looked more like a victory glow than actual fatigue. As expected, some humans had totally given up and collapsed on the track. Violet had thought about it too. The idea of just hitting the ground and letting her aching muscles rest was super tempting. The alphas could kiss her well, you know. But Violet wasn't a quitter. Plus, there was Alice's warning. Alice had said that quitters got the worst punishments, like cleaning all the dorm bathrooms, a total nightmare. Apparently, some seriously nasty stuff went down in those bathrooms, and cleaning up was traumatizing. Alice didn't need to go into details. Violet got the picture. That was enough motivation to keep her going. Plus, the humiliation of failing? No way. "You run a lot," Violet gasped, looking at Alice, who was effortlessly keeping pace beside her. She seemed totally unfazed by the killer speed. Alice grinned. "I love running." And like she'd just gotten a boost of energy, the petite blonde suddenly sped up, leaving Violet in the dust. Violet stared after her, a mix of amazement and disbelief. That girl was a machine! No time to waste, though. Violet focused on her own race. She pushed herself harder, each step bringing her closer to the starting line for lap 7. Just as she crossed the line, something freezing cold hit her, stealing her breath. "What?" Violet spun around to see Autumn Carson holding a hose, a smug smile on her face. The pure-blooded werewolf looked down at her with total disdain, and it wasn't just Violet. Several other fresh meat were getting the same icy treatment. The evil elite students had stepped up their game, dousing the humans with cold water as they finished each lap. Just to make things even worse, Asher and Roman were nowhere to be seen, probably busy torturing the slower runners and having a blast. Violet wouldn't be surprised if this whole water thing was their idea too. Violet stopped, glaring up at Autumn. The werewolf raised an eyebrow, momentarily surprised by Violet's defiance. But the surprise quickly turned to annoyance. "What are you waiting for, purple head? Move it!" she sneered. Every cell in Violet's body screamed to retaliate against this snobby werewolf. But it wasn't worth it. Autumn was the queen bee of the whole school, not just their class. Lunaris Academy was already a pain. Violet didn't want to make things worse. But she wasn't going to let it slide, either. To everyone's shock, Violet reached into her waistband, then pulled out her hand and gave Autumn the finger. Not just any finger, either. It was the most epic, in-your-face she could manage. Silence fell over the elite group. A few gasps broke the quiet. Violet saw their shocked faces, mouths hanging open. All except one girl, who burst out laughing, making Autumn's face turn beet red, knowing she'd totally crossed a line, and knowing Autumn wasn't one to let things go. Violet didn't stick around to find out what happened next. She bolted, adrenaline pumping. She could practically feel Autumn's glare burning into her back and knew she'd just painted a giant target on herself. But strangely, she didn't care. Not today. Autumn Carson could hate her all she wanted. The feeling was mutual. 3 more laps, just 3 more laps, and this nightmare would be over. Though Violet had absolutely no clue how she'd make it, especially now that Autumn was out for blood.
Hey, amazing viewers! It's Violet here. Thanks for sticking with us. By the time of the release of this video, only 9% of our viewers have joined the party by subscribing, and 91% of you might miss out on our next mind-blowing video. So what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and join the exclusive club.